The annual Mitchell family reunion at the Grand Plaza Hotel was always an exercise in humiliation. As I sat at the far end of the banquet table, picking at my overpriced salmon, the familiar barrage began. "Still doing that online travel thing?" Aunt Patricia asked, her diamond tennis bracelet catching the crystal chandelier's light. "Sweetie, there are real jobs available. Your cousin Bradley just made junior partner at his law firm." Bradley smirked from his seat near our parents, his perfectly tailored suit a deliberate contrast to my simple black dress. "The position's still open for a legal secretary if you're interested, cuz." I took a sip of champagne, hiding my smile. If they only knew that online travel thing was actually Horizon Hospitality Group, one of the largest hotel investment companies in the country. The same company that had quietly acquired the Grand Plaza Hotel chain 3 months ago. "Alexandra needs to be practical," my mother sighed loud enough for everyone to hear. 30 years old and still chasing internet dreams. "What happened to that nice accounting position we found for you?" "You mean the junior bookkeeper role at Uncle Robert's company?" I asked mildly. "The one with no advancement opportunities and mandatory overtime?" "At least it was respectable," my father chimed in. "Not this. What do you even call what you do?" "Digital hospitality consulting," I replied, thinking of the stack of acquisition papers waiting in my real office. The ones detailing Horizon's latest purchase, the luxury resort chain my family frequented. My phone buzzed discreetly. A message from Sarah, my chief operations officer. "Coastal Resorts deal closed. We now own all their properties, including the one your family's staying at next month." I typed back, "Perfect timing. Proceed with management transition." "Alexandra barely makes rent on that tiny apartment," Aunt Patricia stage whispered to my mother. "Remember when she couldn't afford to join us in Aspen last winter?" I hadn't joined them because I was in Singapore, finalizing the acquisition of a 5-star hotel group. But they didn't need to know that. Not yet. "Speaking of travel," Uncle Robert announced, swirling his scotch, "we've booked the entire coastal resort in Maui for next month's corporate retreat. Only the best for Mitchell Industries' top performers." I suppressed a smile, thinking of the changes already being implemented at Coastal's properties. Changes that would become apparent very soon. "You should come, Alexandra," Bradley offered with fake generosity. "I'm sure Dad would comp your room. You know, family discount." Before I could respond, the hotel manager approached our table. Mr. Chin had been running the Grand Plaza for 20 years, and now unknowingly worked for me. "Pardon the interruption," he said, his eyes scanning the table before landing on me. "Ms. Mitchell? There's a call for you at the front desk. Something about Horizon Holdings." My mother's fork clattered against her plate. "What trouble have you gotten into now?" "No trouble," I assured her, standing smoothly. "Just business." "Business?" Bradley scoffed. "Your little website hardly counts as dash." "Ms. Owner," Mr. Chin said clearly, bowing slightly in my direction. "Would you like to take the call in your private office upstairs?" The silence that descended over the banquet table was absolute. Champagne glasses froze halfway to open mouths. Bradley's perfectly practiced smile cracked slightly. "Owner," my father whispered. "Yes," I replied calmly. "Horizon Hospitality Group acquired the Grand Plaza chain 3 months ago. Didn't you read about it in the financial papers?" "Horizon." Uncle Robert's face went pale. "The company that's been buying up luxury hotels across Asia and Europe." "The same," I confirmed, enjoying how his hands trembled slightly. "Though we prefer the term strategic acquisition to buying up." "Speaking of which," I turned to Mr. Chin. "How are the renovations coming along at the coastal properties?" The manager smiled. "On schedule, Ms. Mitchell. All changes will be implemented before next month's corporate bookings." Uncle Robert's Scotch glass slipped from his fingers, shattering on the marble floor. You own Coastal Resorts?" "As of this morning," I nodded. "Along with the Grand Plaza, the Asian Peninsula Group, and several other chains you might recognize. That online travel thing worked out rather well." The next hour transformed the annual Mitchell family reunion from a showcase of condescension into a masterclass in uncomfortable realizations. The banquet room's elegant atmosphere now felt stifling as my family struggled to process their new reality. But your apartment," my mother stammered, her perfectly manicured hands shaking as she reached for her water glass. That terrible neighborhood. My corporate headquarters is in that neighborhood, I corrected her. The apartment you've never bothered to visit is actually a converted warehouse that houses Horizon's main operations. We employ over 200 people there. Bradley, his lawyer's instincts finally kicking in, was frantically searching on his phone. His face grew increasingly pale as he scrolled through news articles. Horizon Hospitality Group continues global expansion. Mistrivo transforms luxury hotel industry. Horizon Holdings acquires coastal resorts for $2.8 billion. This is impossible, Aunt Patricia declared, though her voice lacked its usual certainty. You couldn't possibly. I mean the capital required. I pulled out my tablet, displaying Horizon's portfolio. Would you like to see the numbers? We currently own or manage over 300 luxury properties worldwide. That online travel thing you mocked? It was just the public face of a much larger operation. Sarah appeared at my side, tablet in hand. Sorry to interrupt, but Singapore is calling about the Marina Bay acquisition. And the Dubai team needs approval for the new desert resort concept. My father's face had taken on an interesting shade of gray. Dubai? Singapore. Global hospitality requires global presence, I explained, signing the documents Sarah presented. Though I suppose that's not as respectable as a local accounting job. Uncle Robert, who'd been uncharacteristically quiet, suddenly found his voice. The corporate retreat, our bookings at Coastal, are safe, I assured him, though I couldn't resist adding, though you might find some changes to your usual arrangements. We're implementing new management policies across all properties. What kind of changes? Bradley demanded, probably thinking of the extravagant parties he'd hosted on his father's corporate account. I smiled. For one, we're ending the practice of comping excessive personal expenses as business costs. Ethics compliance, you understand. Being a lawyer, I'm sure you appreciate the importance of proper corporate governance. The color drained from his face as he presumably remembered all the weekend business meetings that were actually personal vacations. My phone buzzed again, a message from our legal team. SEC filing complete. Horizon's ownership of coastal resorts now public record. Media inquiries incoming. Right on schedule. I don't understand, my mother said, her voice small. All these years when we thought you were struggling. You thought what you wanted to think, I replied. It was easier to believe I was failing than to actually ask about my business. Easier to listen to Bradley's condescension than to show interest in my work. Sarah cleared her throat. The press conference is scheduled for tomorrow morning. They'll want to know about the planned renovations at all coastal properties. Press conference? Aunt Patricia's eyes widened. You're going public with this? Hard to keep a $3 billion acquisition quiet, I noted. Though I've managed to keep my identity as Horizon's CEO private until now. Family reunions are so much more interesting when people show their true colors. Bradley's phone buzzed. Probably his law firm's partners realizing their junior partner's cousin owned their biggest hospitality client. His face suggested the conversation wouldn't be pleasant. All those times we invited you to luxury resorts, my father said slowly, you were actually inspecting my competition? Yes. I checked my watch. Speaking of which, Mr. Chin, shall we review the renovation plans for the Grand Plaza's West Wing? The manager nodded eagerly. Of course, Ms. Mitchell. The architects are waiting in your office. My office? My mother questioned. The owner's suite, Mr. Chin explained, though Ms. Mitchell prefers to keep it quiet when she stays here. Something about observing natural staff interactions. I stood, smoothing my simple black dress, Chanel's latest, though without the obvious logos my family preferred. If you'll excuse me, I have a hotel chain to run. Bradley, do give my regards to your firm's partners. I believe our corporate legal contracts are up for review next month. The next 24 hours transformed my family's understanding of success more thoroughly than any lesson they'd ever learned. As news of Horizon's latest acquisitions spread through the financial world, their carefully constructed hierarchy crumbled. By morning, the business channels were running constant coverage. Alexandra Mitchell, the hidden hotel magnate. From mockery to millions, the Horizon hospitality story. Mitchell family's black sheep revealed as luxury hotel queen. I watched the coverage from my real office. The top floor of that terrible building in that awful neighborhood. The space was a testament to understated elegance, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city and walls lined with photos of our properties worldwide. Sarah entered with the morning reports. Your father's been in the lobby for an hour. Your mother's called 12 times. And Bradley's law firm sent over a rather desperate proposal for handling all our legal work. And Uncle Robert? Trying to renegotiate the coastal resort booking for his corporate retreat. Apparently, the new ethics compliance policies are problematic for his usual arrangements. I smiled, remembering all the business expenses I'd reviewed, spa treatments for his mistress, shopping sprees coded as client meetings, parties that had nothing to do with business. Send my father up, I decided. It's time for some honesty. He entered cautiously, his usual confidence replaced by something approaching awe as he took in the empire he'd never bothered to understand. The wall of screens showing our properties worldwide, the awards I'd never mentioned, the evidence of success he'd been too blind to see. Alexandra, he began, then stopped, seemingly at a loss for words. Different from the junior bookkeeper position you had in mind? I asked mildly, gesturing for him to sit. Why didn't you tell us? He finally managed. All these years. Would you have believed me? I turned to face him fully. When I tried to explain my business model, you called it a fantasy. When I talked about digital innovation in hospitality, you said I was wasting my education. When I missed family events because I was closing deals in Asia, you said I was making excuses. He flinched at each point. We thought we were helping. Protecting you from disappointment. No, I corrected him. You were protecting yourselves from the discomfort of having a daughter who didn't fit your definition of success. It was easier to believe I was failing than to understand I was building something different. My phone buzzed. Forbes wanted an interview. Time magazine too. The failure was suddenly very interesting to everyone. Your mother, he started, is currently realizing that all those luxury hotels she bragged about staying in are actually owned by her supposedly unsuccessful daughter, I finished. Interesting how perspective changes. Sarah appeared with more updates. The Singapore merger is complete. Dubai sent the final designs for approval. And, she smiled slightly, Bradley's firm just lost the Thompson Hotels account to their competitors. Thompson Hotels? My father's eyes widened. But that's another Horizon property, I confirmed. Amazing how word spreads in the luxury hospitality industry about law firms that treat their client's CEO with condescension. The next few weeks brought massive changes. The family's dynamic shifted as dramatically as their understanding of wealth and success. Uncle Robert's corporate retreat was subjected to strict ethical compliance review. Bradley's firm struggled to replace the hospitality clients who'd suddenly discovered better options. Aunt Patricia's social media went surprisingly quiet. I maintained my routine, running global operations from my terrible neighborhood, staying in my hotels incognito to observe service standards, building something that mattered more than appearances. 6 months later, I hosted a different kind of family gathering, this time in Horizon's Dubai property. A stunning desert oasis that represented everything I'd built while they'd been busy mocking my choices. The thing about hospitality, I told them as we toured the property, is that it's not about showing off wealth. It's about creating experiences, understanding people, building something that enhances lives. My mother, notably subdued in her designer outfit, nodded. We never understood what you were building. Because you never asked, I replied. Too busy pushing me toward what you considered acceptable success to see I'd found my own path. The empire continued to grow. Horizon expanded into new markets, developed innovative concepts, transformed the industry in ways my family had never imagined possible. Their favorite hotels became testaments to the success they'd dismissed, each property a reminder of their misjudgment. Bradley eventually left his law firm to start his own practice. Smaller but more authentic. Uncle Robert's company adopted strict ethical guidelines for corporate travel. Aunt Patricia stopped comparing her children's careers to arbitrary standards of success. Me. I kept my office in that terrible neighborhood, continued to stay incognito in my own hotels, maintained the habits that had built my empire while they were busy judging my choices. 1 year later, at another family gathering, this time in our Singapore property, my father finally asked the question that had probably haunted him for months. How did you do it? Build all this while we thought you were failing. I showed him my first business plan, written on the back of a hotel receipt when I was fresh out of college. By understanding that real success isn't about impressing family at reunions. It's about building something meaningful, something that lasts. The family dynamics had shifted permanently. Success was no longer measured by job titles or zip codes but by impact and innovation. My failure had become a lesson in looking beyond appearances, in understanding that real achievement rarely announces itself with fanfare. I still attend family reunions, though now they're held in my hotels around the world. The conversations have changed from condescension to curiosity, from judgment to genuine interest. Even Bradley asks questions about business strategy instead of offering patronizing job suggestions. But sometimes, late at night in one of my properties, I'll sit in the lobby and watch guests arrive, remembering how it felt to be dismissed and underestimated. It's a reminder that success isn't about proving others wrong, it's about proving yourself right. And occasionally, when I overhear parents pushing their children toward respectable careers or mocking their entrepreneurial dreams, I'll quietly upgrade their room and leave them a note. The greatest success stories often begin with someone being told they're failing. Keep building. Because in the end, true achievement isn't measured by how many hotels you own or how thoroughly you prove your critics wrong. It's measured by what you build while they're busy doubting you, by the lives you enhance while they're focused on appearances, and by the legacy you create while they're still defining success by other people's standards. And sometimes the sweetest victory isn't in watching champagne glasses shatter with revelation. It's in building something so magnificent that it transforms not just an industry, but the very people who once dismissed your dreams as failure.